Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and joining me this week, a returning special guest, Mr. Jason, a.k.a. the Jastrom. How are you doing, pal?
Hey, Jimmy. Thanks for having me back.
You are, here, and we've got a few shows we've got planned. I swear you're not becoming the co-host, but, I love having you here, so thank you so much for dropping on by, because we are kind of recording in bulk, a little behind the scenes for people, because we wanted to talk about two very separate, different types of things today, and we're going to start here with a movie that just came out a few days ago, and that is Jurassic World Dominion. Yes. Ooh, very scary name. And as right, and as I like to do with all of our stuff, I'm going to flip the spoiler switch here in a minute or two, but we're going to kind of go over some brief spoiler-free thoughts in the beginning. And as I like to do with a guest on the show, I like to start by asking, Jason, what's your familiarity with the Jurassic franchise, and would you consider yourself a fan?
Yeah, I'm a fan of the Jurassic movies. I've seen all of the movies.
Nice.
I swear I saw the previous one, but man, I did not remember a lot of it. I was like, who's this girl? I barely remember it. I don't know what the deal is, but yeah, I would say that I'm the kind of fan that I go to be entertained, maybe a few jump scares and stuff, and I just kind of forget about it. I'm not like a diehard fan or anything, but I do always go see them. They're event movies, you know?
Yeah, definitely tentpole movies.
And the first one is still my favorite.
Yeah, and I did a show a while back, I think, with Isla Hink about the first Jurassic Park. For people who don't know, Jurassic Park, to me, it's my fourth favorite film of all time. And I know that sounds strange, but the first three are Lord of the Rings, but Jurassic Park comes right after that. I absolutely adore Jurassic Park. I think it's one of the best films. It's one of the most entertaining things we've ever made as a species, in my opinion. Humble opinion, that is. And I love the franchise, and over the years, it's been kind of interesting to see how it's evolved, because I'm with you, Jason, the first one's always going to be my favorite. I've liked the subsequent iterations of it, and to make kind of a comparison here, Jurassic World kind of felt a little bit like Force Awakens, in that it was kind of retreading a lot of the same ideas as the one that kicked it all off. You know,
right.
And this, to me, and we'll get into it a little bit more, feels a bit, and it's not to disparage it, because some people either love or hate Rise of Skywalker. This feels very much like the end of a lot of stuff here, trying to tie up a lot of loose ends, and kind of a lot of homage back to original stuff. So I would say this is definitely not something you should walk into without having at least seen Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. It would help to see Fallen Kingdom as well, but Jurassic Park Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 are not necessarily necessities for viewing wise, but I would say you'd have to have some familiarity, because if you watched this, you'd be like, who are all these people? How do they know each other? Why does the camera hold on them for a second too long?
You know what's funny about your comparison to Rise of Skywalker is Colin Trevorrow, that directed this, was supposed to direct.
Right.
And he stepped down or got fired or whatever. We'll never really know the truth, but he had a script and everything, and instead they brought JJ back. So
yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to see that. So
he got to close this one out, though. So
yeah,
that's good.
Exactly. And like the Star Wars, he did the World and this one, where JJ did Rise and Force Awakens, and they had somebody else in between. Not to say that Fallen Kingdom was The Last Jedi, that was a huge departure, or kind of expectations subversions everywhere. Fallen Kingdom, for the most part, it still falls in line with everything here. But I guess the big question I would have, Jason, as a fan of the Jurassic stuff, is this worth seeing in theaters?
If you're a fan of the Jurassic franchise, I would say yes. Mm-hmm. Or if you're a fan of event films, I would say yes. If you're a fan of very kind of tense thrillers that are smartly written with logic involved, no. But otherwise, you'll have a great time in this. I know I did. I did have a good time.
Yeah. I think I'm kind of with you there. I think that the thing about Jurassic, it's the only place to really see dinosaurs at like the peak of how they look for CGI, right? And they had a lot of practical stuff in here too, which I was happy to see. Not like the dinosaur, like the big carnivores, not really that, but some of the smaller things. I was like, okay, that's real. That's good for them. But yeah,
I had to get over my complaint on the Jurassic movies a long time ago, way back in the first one, is I was never going to see what I wanted in these movies, which is a minigun mowing down a T-Rex. That was not going to happen.
They almost had it in World.
Yeah, basically what it is these dinosaurs are the stars. They will not be harmed. They will harm you.
Yep.
And you're not going to see them get shot. They're going to get shot with darts. They're going to get bumped with cars or whatever. Or they're going to get knocked over or thrown off a cliff or something, but they're never dead. They come back, you know?
Yeah. No, totally.
Because maybe they think that's more upsetting to children than being scared. The kids don't want to see the dinosaurs die, do they?
No, they don't. That's why they didn't blow up one of the velociraptors in the first Jurassic Park, but then they do that in Jurassic World, because that totally happens in the book for Jurassic Park.
World was pretty dark with all of the dinosaur death.
There's a lot.
That main dinosaur that was killing everything.
Indominus Rex.
Wake, yeah, that was pretty hardcore.
Mm-hmm. I love the Indominus Rex now because she's here at Universal Studios Hollywood, and I go see her often. And she's just trying to get to the boat, and she just wants a smooch. She just wants a hug. Like, that's all she wants. She doesn't want to hurt you. She just wants to be loved.
That's very dangerous. I don't think you should be there.
No, it's okay. No, it's fine. I tell them every time I get off the ride just about, I'm like, guys, there's some dinosaurs that broke out up there. And they're like, it's fine. Like, I'm not kidding. I've told that to the team members, and they don't seem worried.
The scariest dino in all these movies is that underwater one.
The Mosasaurus. Scary. Oh, we're going to talk about Mosasaurus briefly. But is there anything else you want to say before we flip the old spoiler switch here?
Just one. Do not bring small children.
Yeah, I saw a lot of small children at my showing, and I think there's like this idea that like dinosaurs and like little kids mix well, like in education, where like kids are, and I know I was super enthusiastic about dinosaurs as a kid. I like memorized a bunch of words and names for these things that I couldn't even speak in full sentences, but I could say like the names of these things. However, in these types of films, this is not really the place to bring your small children, because there's some pretty freaky stuff that would probably stay with them.
You're going to hear like it's a certain point in this movie. It's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I agree with Jason here. And if you are looking for a nice summer blockbuster, I think this would be a good place to go see it. And, like I said before, it pays a lot of love and homage to the original stuff, and especially if you want to see that original cast. But we're going to talk about it. I'm going to flip the old spoiler switch. Are you ready for it, buddy?
Yes, I am ready, and be careful.
Okay, I think I got the sparks. I greased it up, so it should be totally fine this time. Okay, ready? Here we go.
Oof. I call an electrician, Jimmy.
No, I can't. Actually, my brother-in-law is an electrician. Speaking of, when's he going to be on the show? That'd be, you could fix it. There's so many spoilers. There's so many spoiler sparks. But before we do that, I have to mention this. The budget for Jurassic World Dominion reported $185 million. I originally saw it at $165 million.
All?
Only 100. Oh, yes. But right now, doing well worldwide at $392 million. Of course, we are talking about this a few days after it came out, so that means it probably has gone up from there. And I don't usually talk about the critic score, much lower than the audience score. That just seems to be how these things balance out these days. You don't often, well, I shouldn't say that. I'm sure Top Gun Maverick, the critic score and the audience score were like roughly the same, right? That kind of thing. Yeah, because
this
people are
is
talking about
not
that.
high art.
No. Yeah, so the critics apparently not liking as much as the audience, who's just enjoying it.
Yeah, but who care what the critics say? Like I say, if you like dinosaur movies, go see the movie.
Right, that's what we say. I feel like saying this, and I haven't talked specifically. Rotten Tomatoes right now, if you go off these things, 30% for the critic reviews, and then 79% for the audience score.
You get to see Alan Grant again. You
That's
get to
enough.
see Ellie Sattler.
Oh man, I was totally right. But for Top Gun, 97% critics, 99% for audience. Again, I don't know exactly how these things work. I think it's just fun to look at.
I've seen Top Gun. It's pretty good.
I want to see it, dude. Like, I feel like I need to. Do I need to see it in IMAX?
Okay.
You answered my question perfectly. Yeah. Do I need to see it in IMAX? Yes, see it in IMAX.
Yes.
Okay. Good to know. Okay. So let's set the stage here, because I can't talk about any plot without it being a spoiler. I feel like this really feels like two separate films put together, and there is like this "my child was kidnapped" kind of Wanted-esque film going alongside this like super evil science lab that is kind of destroying the planet, and these two plots kind of collide together, and that's why I think this movie feels like there's so much going on, because there's like two separate casts of main characters,
right?
Like that are going on, and I think that can be a lot for people. So on one side, it's the continuation of the Jurassic World crew, where we get Owen Grady and we get Claire, who are living out in the Sierra Nevada wilderness with Maisie, the little girl that Jason was talking about before, who is a cloned human of now get this, she's the clone of the daughter of the co-founder of Jurassic Park that we never knew about. So
yes,
try to keep that straight, everybody.
They didn't just make him up at all, did they?
No, they didn't. Yeah, the Lockwoods, man, the Lockwoods. Anyway,
right.
But yeah, so there's that going on, along with Blue, the Velociraptor from Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom, who's living nearby and now has a child.
Which I have a problem with if I live anywhere near this area on my farm.
You got a problem with Blue. You're not liking Blue living nearby.
If I want to go on a walk, I don't want to fear being eaten or something.
Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting, because they only showed Blue and her child Beta, named by Maisie, like not just attacking foxes and stuff, but like watching people, just being like,
you can't tell me Blue's not going to go after me if I'm going on a hike and I'm like sitting down with my back turned.
Dude, you're tasty. She's coming for you.
Yeah.
No question. Yeah, I think that's an easier meal too, honestly, probably, than some of these like little critters that, like, I know she's trying to teach Beta to hunt and stuff, but
yeah, I know Beta's all cute and everything, but that thing's eating me.
Yeah, and one question I had going in, and they did address it or announce it, is that Blue reproduces asexually, so there's not like some male velociraptor that's not part of this, group.
Right.
So if you're wondering about that, that's how that works.
And they even explain it later how that happens.
Yeah. Monitor DNA. So I was like, all right, hey, at least they're trying here. They're trying to do something. Like in science fiction, it's nice when they try.
I just wanted to say real quick, Dino DNA.
DNA. Dude, I love it, man. They have those on the shirts over here in Universal Studios Hollywood. I swear they're not paying me to say this, but I'm just saying it anyway. But anyway, so that's one thing that's going on over there, and there is a pack of poachers, as it were, who are hired by the new big bad laboratory, Biosyn Genetics, led by...
I thought one of the poachers, the evil guy, his name is Rain Delacourt.
Oh, Rain Delacourt. That's a good name, right?
Yeah, pretty good.
It's a good name. But this Biosyn Genetics is run by the evil scientist Dodson, who you guys might remember. Dodson. We got Dodson over here from the very first Jurassic Park.
That's the thing. Is he supposed to be the same guy?
He's supposed to be the same guy. I looked it up.
I didn't even catch that until there's a part where Ian Malcolm goes, Dodson. And I was like, oh my God, that's the guy.
Yeah, right. I'm surprised they didn't just say that.
They show you the can in his room later, and that's like, hello, are you getting this, audience? This is who this is.
The Barbasol can, which raises a lot of questions.
Because he was not handed that can.
Yeah, well, he handed that can to Nedry, and Nedry dies,
and
presumably.
It goes
in the
down
mud.
A river. It gets washed away.
In a river of mud. And so basically that means Dodson or somebody else Dodson had working for them, like went to Jurassic Park after and found that can or whatever else.
The funniest thing about Dodson in this, played by Campbell Scott, which is a great actor, is they made him look like Tim Cook from Apple.
Oh, is it not? Oh, Tim Cook. I've heard people say like Steve Jobs, but maybe is it more like Tim Cook?
He's more like Tim. If you look at a picture of Tim Cook and the way that Dodson looked in this, they look identical.
Sure. Yeah. And
I
that's
thought that was hilarious.
well, it's an interesting thing too, because I remember thinking that like Dodson was more of like a go-between guy for some other secret company in the first Jurassic Park, which I guess now would be
Right.
Biosyn Genetics, and
I think
now he's like the
an
head honcho.
opportunist. He's an
Yeah,
opportunist. He's working with somebody until he can benefit off of it, and he's finally amassed this corporation.
yeah. Yeah, it seems that way. And it's a nice little like through line. Not the same actor that was in Jurassic Park. And
Right.
there's some reasons for that. I found out, I like looked it up and I was like, oh, I can see why. So it's probably, I understand. But anyway,
If you can get Campbell Scott over this guy that people don't really know well, maybe that's why they went with a better actor.
there was some legal things that prevented them from bringing this guy in, shall we say.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So I was like, yep, makes total sense. And I was thinking for a second, I'm like, was this guy playing him? Was he the same guy? And I'm like, no. In the first Jurassic Park, I'm like, no, it's not the same guy. But anyway, the reason we bring him up, because he's like the main antagonist, the villain of the film. The thing that kind of ties all of this together is that he wants to capture Maisie and Beta, the little velociraptor, because their genetics, according to their chief scientist there, who is the same doctor who was kind of a villain in the last two films, but was kind of an okay guy in the first one. Henry Wu. Dr. Henry Wu coming back. Kind of a redemption arc here. He's got longer hair now, so you can see that he's sad. But
yeah, and I'm sorry, buddy. All is not forgiven just because you decide to be good in this one.
Yeah. Well, and the point is that like what's been happening, and this is how it ties into the original cast, is that Biosyn Genetics has created the super locust with kind of dinosaur DNA. There's that word again, or phrase.
I have no problems with dinosaurs, Jimmy, but do not bring giant bugs to life.
Yeah, I thought about that, and I was like, I bet there's a lot of people who came to this movie and did not expect, yours truly included, that like there was going to be a lot of creepy bugs in here too.
Do not like.
Yeah, it was kind of strange. Anyway, so the point of bringing them in is that they're starting to destroy crops all around the world except the ones that Biosyn has created, like the seed that Biosyn has produced. And so basically it's going to help out Biosyn and kind of destroy these other crops. However, they're becoming
Biosyn will control the world's supply of food.
Yes, well, and the problem is they're starting to kind of go out of control, and now Wu is like, well, if I can get Maisie and Beta's DNA and stuff, I can take that and use it to basically change the DNA or the information that one of these locusts has, and then I can let that into the group of all of them, and that will spread around the world, and it will not have the same problem we're having with these locusts going out of control. It's a lot, all right?
I didn't totally understand what he meant or whatever, but I was just like, okay, do your science thing. Okay?
He's doing science stuff, right? You don't have to worry about it. But the reason that brings the other group in is because Ellie Sattler, botanist from the original Jurassic Park, is somebody who's interested in this sort of thing. She ends up bringing and enlisting the help of the one, the only, the fantastic Sam Neill playing Alan Grant. Brings him right back in, and to be honest, it's the only way to get him back in, because he didn't want to be in Jurassic Park 3, like the scenario of Jurassic Park 3. He was like, I'm not doing this, except there's a lot of money. There wasn't a lot of money involved. Like, his character was cheated. But then in this one, he loves Ellie, so he's like, I'm in. And thankfully, on the inside, their man on the inside, the mole himself, Dr. Ian Malcolm, played by Jeff Goldblum, and that's kind of their ticket in, so they get to go and see this super secret Bond-esque base up in the Dolomite Mountains of Italy. And so
I wasn't prepared for how happy it made me to see them together again.
Yeah? You weren't prepared for that?
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, oh, good, they're in this, cool. And I was just, basically, I wasn't anticipating this movie that much or thinking about it. And then when I went and saw it, I was like, oh, yeah, this is great, kind of a thing,
Sure.
Seeing them together again.
Yeah. But basically what happens is they all kind of end up eventually there. The other way that we get the cast in from the Jurassic World stuff is that they go and they kind of get to, this is where it's very kind of Jason Bourne, James Bondy, but like Owen and Claire go to Malta. They find out where
I'll say that was so Jason Bourne. It's
like a black market for dinosaurs, and they end up tracking and figuring out that Maisie is up in the Dolomite Mountains, and this very nice, quote unquote, sympathetic pilot, who helps them out and knows Biosyn and kind of joins their team and helps them get there, and they all kind of coalesce eventually on the mountaintop island kind of thing, as it were.
But I wanted to say about the pilot, Kayla Watts. I was disappointed in the fact that a long time ago, like when they first showed the first trailer, people were theorizing, oh, that's Ian Malcolm's daughter from Jurassic World grown up. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So when she never goes, hey, Dad, and he's like, hey, I was like, they totally made that up. That's not true. It kind of bummed me out because I thought that's who that was.
They couldn't do that because if his daughter was there, the one from the Lost World, she'd just use her gymnastics to defeat all the dinosaurs, and it wouldn't be fun to watch. That would have been
awesome. Yeah, that was so bad.
I love it. I love that moment though. I like the raptor just turns, is like, what?
Like I didn't expect this.
Hey, a raptor probably would do that. It'd be like, wait, why are you? Those raptors are so hungry. They want to eat. Anyway, I just want to see a descended raptor who just ate way too much and has like a big belly and just can't move anymore and is like, whatever. Like just lays down. It's like, whatever.
I'm starving.
But anyway, I'm kind of glossing over a lot of the plot here, but we're going to get into the specifics, but there are dinosaurs throughout the entirety of this, and one of the big kind of things at the beginning and the ending too, kind of showing these montages of dinosaurs in our world. And the first kind of thing we see at all is some people, like, I don't know if they're like crab catchers or they're catching fish or something out, like way out in the ocean. Yeah. And then, of course, the Mosasaurus shows up and grabs onto the cage and pulls the whole boat upside down, which I was like, was that a physical shot? Like the way they flipped the boat? I'm like, did they flip a whole boat for this? Like, they might have.
What was funny, Jimmy, is I was disappointed that there was a moment in one of the first trailers that wasn't in the movie. And I was thinking about that, but then I read about it today that it was actually cut out of the movie. It was like a prologue where the T-Rex is at a drive-in where people are watching the movie.
Yep.
And I was waiting for that, but it's okay. They cut it out, but I was waiting for that as I was watching the movie. I was like, oh yeah, I want to see that scene because it looked pretty cool or whatever, but it never happens.
I saw that pop up, and to be honest, I wasn't watching any of the trailers, so that's one of the reasons trailers can hurt you and hurt your heart, because you're like, that movie's coming. Nope.
Trailers are evil.
Well, they're not evil, but there's been a few times where I'm like, this is going to be great, and it's like, that thing didn't show up.
If you want to experience something for the first time in a film, trailers will ruin that for you. Sometimes they have one of the funniest moments in the film in the trailer, and so when you watch a movie and that funny moment comes up and you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
My best example is the Jumanji movie when Cake cause him to explode.
Yeah,
that's funny in the trailer. When you watch it in the movie and that happens, you're like, oh, he's gonna explode, it's gonna be funny. Seen it,
done it. Yeah. I want to start talking, though, specifically about the dinosaurs themselves. Jason, besides...
You say dinosaurs? Dinosaurs?
Yeah. Do you like some dinosaurs?
I was trying to do my Ian Malcolm there.
Yeah, that was your... Oh, that is your dinosaurs? Dinosaurs?
Can I do my Ian Malcolm laugh for a second?
Do it.
Rawr, rawr. Remember he does that kind of... Rawr,
you mean his...
kind of...
Yeah, it's great. I want to talk specifically about your favorite either dinosaurs, or dinosaur action sequence.
Okay. The dinosaur I never knew existed, and it kind of looks like a sloth dinosaur.
Yes.
With the long blade hands.
Would you like to know the name?
What's that thing?
So we're talking about the Therizinosaurus.
Is that thing real?
Is it
Did they
real?
Make that up for the movie, or?
Great question. I don't know. I think it was real, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it is real. But I will double check while you talk about it.
Yeah, I didn't mean is it real in the movie? Like, they really had this thing on the set, or?
Yeah, they it was a real problem on set. Apparently, it was very, very selfish. They didn't like it, so. Yeah.
And that thing eats plants, right? It's not even a meat.
Yes, it's herbivorous, and I believe it is or was an actual creature that existed at one time.
I thought that thing was very creepy, and that it was hairy too.
Yeah, the feathers and stuff.
Yeah, I was like, ugh, this thing's creepy. But that whole sequence with the Bryce Dallas Howard character,
Yeah.
when she's in on the the parachute kind of hanging from the tree, were you thinking, why are you cutting yourself down? Just stay there. You're safer up there.
Yeah.
Claire, that's her name. Claire is hanging there, and the thing is there, that dinosaur, and he's kind of moving around, kind of sniffing around, and he's just, he's present. Just don't make a sound. Just sit there. But she's like, okay, I'm going to cut myself down. And she thuds on the ground and gets it attention. I was like, what is she doing?
Yeah. Well, it was tall.
The shot with her going underwater and it above the water kind of sniffing, I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I'm looking here on Games Radar, and apparently they kind of interviewed Colin Trevorrow, the director, and he said it was his favorite scene in the movie. And I remember watching that and thinking the framing and everything, the way that she like kind of army crawls or marine crawls down the moss into the water, and she barely breathes, doesn't really talk or anything, and this thing is just kind of walking up slowly behind her. I was like, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Like, that was a great sequence. So yeah, there's Zenosaurus and helps get the combo kill on the Gigantosaurus at the end with the help of Rexy.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. But I wanted to go back to the motorcycle chase, or are we going to go back to that later? Our favorite moments in the movie?
Dude, we could talk about, I was going to bring it up, so I'm glad you did.
I would say that was my favorite action sequence in the movie. Yes, it is ridiculous, but it was still a lot of fun. It was basically Jason Bourne gets chased by raptors kind of a thing. Those things weren't raptors though, right?
These were Atrociraptors.
Oh.
I know.
Like Atrocity and Raptors.
Yeah, right? So
and
close.
His friend from Jurassic World, I was really afraid he was going to get eaten.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought so
Barry?
Too.
His friend Barry?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, I was worried about him too because he almost almost murders him in the first one, and I was like, oh, this guy might be toast. Like their buddy, so his friend, his coworker from Jurassic World, who is now like in the French military or French CI, not CI, but French intelligence, who brings them in on an operation. I'm like, would you? I was like, this guy's getting fired. He's like, yeah, my two American friends, they'll be part of this.
Have you ever seen a scarier laser pointer in your life?
No, man. It's pretty, okay, here's my joke about that. So for people who've watched the movie, or maybe some people are on the fence who still want to listen to this, these Atrociraptors, they're brought to this black market where Owen and Claire end up going in Malta. And there's this kind of underground fighting ring with dinosaurs, and it's really sad. You don't like to see that, but basically they have these special raptors in these containers, and like they talked about within the Indoraptor in Fallen Kingdom, you laser pointer, a special pointer on somebody or something, and
that's exactly what they wanted to do with Chris Pratt's raptors.
Yes, and it was kind of like the through line here, but basically these things will not stop hunting or trying to kill this thing until it is dead. So basically this this lady who is kind of working for Biosyn, but not, she's this kind of evil, like, lady who is using her laser pointer on everybody, and these Atrociraptors were hunting people down to the ends of the earth, and it was like,
Wasn't it rather lackluster that her punishment was she gets arrested?
Well, for now. I'm surprised somebody didn't get her with a laser pointer.
Get eaten for being bad.
Well, that's the thing. These Atrociraptors aren't dead. We don't know where all of them are. And
there's going to be a sequel, isn't there? And she's going to get eaten in that one.
And I think Owen Grady is too. So here's my thought. These Atrociraptors, there's like 2 or 3 of them on Owen, and Owen has to escape, jumps on the plane, and he gets away, and one is almost on him, but falls off with a motorcycle and, falls in the water. But these things are trained to follow to the end of the world, so I'm waiting for the how it should have ended to pop up, where these Atrociraptors get across the ocean, and they get to him, right?
It's sailing on a boat right now on its way there.
It's gonna get him. It's rubbing its claws together, and it's like, just you wait, you can't get away from
Dummy's
me.
Just sitting on a farm somewhere,
right?
Unaware.
And during that whole
how
sequence,
cool would that be? The next film, he shows up to eat Owen Grady, but Blue, he's still looking out for Owen, and he comes to save the day.
Yeah, she would show up and be the heroine, because she didn't get a lot of play in this movie.
Beta is fully grown and even bigger than Blue now.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd be all about that. And
Not
also,
only that, these movies have never had what I wanted, Jimmy.
what's that?
Put a saddle on them. Come on.
I know. Well, they can't all be Vin Diesel, but that's for the next podcast.
Picture this: Maisie riding on Beta on a saddle in the next
sick.
one.
That'd be dope. I like, just go. Just do it, I say.
Just do it. Even if it's the stupidest looking thing ever,
Yeah.
do it.
They also, in that sequence, have an Allosaurus and a Carnotaurus, and I'm a big Carno fan, as some people might know. They're kind of fighting, kind of in between. It's interesting that, like, Owen can use his, like, raptor, kind of put his hands up and stop them for just enough time to get away. I was like, oh, like, is that a dinosaur thing? Like, you just put your hand up,
magic powers.
yeah, it's like, everybody back off.
I love that when the T-Rex shows up, and then the other one that you said, whatever his name is.
Oh, Therizinosaurus?
Yeah, it's kind of like, what are you doing here? He's like, what do you care? He's like, this is my turf, buddy. And he's like, oh yeah, you want to do something about it? And then they go at it.
Oh, are you talking about the Gigano? Are you talking about the meat eater, not the sloth one?
Right. There's a part where the T-Rex fights another one.
Yes.
And
it's
the T-Rex is kind of like, I've had enough of this, and leaves.
Yeah, the Giganotosaurus. I just call it Gigantosaurus, but yeah, they
just
fight for a
kind
little
of face off for a bit, and then he's like, I'm done, and he leaves.
It's apex predators just being like, back off.
But it literally is. They only fight because they see each other, and they're like, all right, you want to tussle, buddy?
Yeah, man, that's how they do it, right? And then they have their rematch at the end, and the movie really wants you to think, and I thought for a second, but they held on it too long, that they, like, killed Rexy. And I was like, come on, don't you dare do this. And then, like, of course, Rexy comes back, and I'm like, thank God.
What's so funny about that is my nephew, who's like 30 now, but was, when Jurassic came out, like, he's always loved that friggin' T-Rex. And I remember in Jurassic World, he's like, it's the same T-Rex from Jurassic Park. And you could tell he has all the scars and everything. I love that guy or whatever. And when I saw him laying there with his tongue out and dead, I was like, you just killed the spirit of my nephew. You just destroyed him, movie. I can't believe you did this. How could you kill him? And then he kind of like blinks his eye, and I was like, he's not dead.
Yep. It's beautiful. And shameless plug, selfless plug. I did a video a little while ago where my golden retriever translated all of the lines Rexy had in the first Jurassic Park, and actually, Rexy's a hero, believe it or not.
Nice.
So don't forget that Rexy is one of the good guys. Okay, good ladies.
I could have used this moment in the film though. Alan Grant looks up at the T-Rex when the T-Rex is about to face off with the Giganosaurus guy.
Yeah.
The T-Rex looks down at Alan Grant, and he just winks his eye, and then Alan Grant goes, this isn't about us. And then they run, and then they start fighting. You realize the T-Rex is holding him off so they can get away.
That would be incredible. Or just like at least Alan Grant saying, not again. Like, it's just... It's like,
because you realize that's what happened at the end of the first movie, though. They were about to be eaten by the raptors, and then the T-Rex showed up and saved them then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I was there.
Oh, by the way, in that final scene, how great was it that he walks by that giant circle, so he made the Jurassic Park logo?
Yeah, I wanted that. I wish I could have seen that by itself, but like I think I saw just like a brief thing from the trailer or the posters walking into the theater have that shot, and I'm like, come on, guys! Like, like they worked so hard to get this shot, and it's like, don't worry, release it for promotional material. I'm like, please.
I laughed out loud at that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. I liked the they're called Dimetrodons, I believe, but it's when Ellie, Alan, and Maisie are down in like the tunnels of the mountain, and they're getting set upon on all sides by these creepy carnivores.
I gotta say, those were probably the creepiest things in the movie.
Yeah, this movie, I'm pretty sure, while it might not have the most amount of like dinosaurs and pterosaurs, like I think Jurassic World had like so many, there's a varied amount of them. There's a lot of unique ones. They rarely do things over too much, it seems like. Yeah, the big things for sure, but some of the smaller stuff, it's like, yeah, it's kind of, they do this and then they move on. It's like, okay. So I like that aspect. You never know what you're going to see. So like when Owen and Kayla crash their plane into this frozen lake, and they end up fighting this thing called the Pyroraptor, which is a raptor with a bunch of feathers and apparently can swim. That was an interesting moment. I just remember thinking, like, man, like, if Owen went under the ice for a second and came back up, like, he's so strong. Like, hypothermia is not going to affect this guy. Like,
shake it off, buddy.
Shake it off.
I do love when he goes, what an asshole about the dinosaur.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Because he just dives under the water. He's swimming under them. And he's just like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I'll say this about Kayla. I didn't say it earlier. I really like her. I thought she was cool. I thought she was like this interesting character that got brought in on this, like, didn't really want to be there, but like kind of acquiesced to it. And, you know, I'm kind of glad they didn't say like, oh, yeah, she's also Ian Malcolm's daughter, because that would have been maybe too coincidental, because the movie's got a lot of coincidences in the first place.
I wanted it so bad, though. Dad, what are you doing here? People would have went, what?
Here's the question. Did we think, like, for a second, like, my brain thought this, but when Ian has got, like, the torch and the Gigantosaurus or whatever is looking at him and he's kind of doing the flare thing all over again, I was like, they wouldn't kill him here, would they? Like,
yeah, I was like, what are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I was like,
where's this going?
Yeah, because
I did like that he speared it right into his mouth, though.
Yeah.
I like that.
That was cool.
There's not enough fighting back against the dinos in these movies. I need one shotgun blast to the head or something, Jimmy, but we just never get it.
I like it. One thing,
you know, the part earlier when they were in the evil lady releases the raptors. Releases them, and the cops are standing there with guns. I just wanted one cop to go, boom, just cap one right in the head.
Yeah, they all ran away, like all the agents. I was like, you guys have guns? Like, they didn't even try. Yeah. I guess maybe in that moment I'd run too.
I would have loved, like, they've released the dinos, permission to shoot, sir. And you hear a guy on the comm, he's like, stand down, do not fire unless fired upon. He's like, they're dinosaurs. And you just see him get eaten, you know?
Yeah. I'm going hot, Sarge. Yeah, just goes full Predator. That'd be interesting. One thing I'll say about this film, they don't waste a lot of time getting that trio of the original cast together, which I think is really smart and something. If you're going to bring these characters back, like you want to see them all together. It does take a little time, but like Ellie gets with Alan pretty quickly, and then they go see Ian. And I love just the little things where it's like, yeah, Alan still kind of hates Ian to some degree. Like there's like still that kind of like, this stuff is going on like 30 years later.
He's still kind of jealous of him.
Yeah, but he saves his life. Like that's the thing. Like Alan will save Ian's life. He could have let him die, but he saved him, and you could tell they're buddies, and you're like, okay, like it's just, I don't know, it's just so endearing, because you're like, when they're talking, you know, together, you're like, this is nice to see, like, it's history right here, baby. Like, it's good.
Yeah, and I love also that they think that he's working with the evil corporation. They're like, I mean, you know, hate to see it.
Yeah, and it's just so, like, later on, as he's getting fired, basically, like, of course he could try to talk his way out of it. He's like, I just want everyone to know that just because I'm getting paid and to be here, that I will, I'll say bad things, I'll say disparaging things, you know, if it's the truth. And like, this is such an Ian Malcolm, like, I'm gonna be honest, even though I've been paid millions of dollars to be like this weird dude sitting in rooms talking to graduate students. Like, it's so funny.
Yeah.
But also,
when they first show that the base, like where they all work, where you're like, oh, this place is going down. Like any place that looks this beautiful and cool looking, it's going to be destroyed by the end of the movie.
Yeah, which, by the way, that leads into Ramsey, who's kind of the second in command of the whole place and kind of the guide. And I thought for a moment they were going to make him evil near the end. I was like, maybe he's doing all of this.
You know what I was waiting for, Jimmy?
What?
Samuel L. Jackson's son.
You're just looking for everybody's kid. I
Just
like
do it. Just do it. He's Samuel Jackson. He goes, when my father died at Jurassic Park, and you're like, oh my God, I know who he is. I would have loved that.
He's like, my father, Dennis Nedry. No, that would have been a plot twist, wouldn't it? You would not have seen that coming.
This hacker crap.
Yeah, he wasn't paid, and they kept saying they spared no expense, but my father's salary, that's an expense that they spared. But anyway, I liked him. I thought he was cool too. And I liked that he was they had to have somebody on the inside again after kind of Ian Malcolm was kind of thrust out, where it's like, all right, you're still going to need somebody kind of helping out with stuff. And there's one great moment later on where Speaking of that Dimitrodon sequence where you've got Ellie, Alan, and Maisie trying to escape, and there's this kind of gate blocking them, and Ian Malcolm's trying to open it with this padlock, and he's like a 4-digit code. He's like, oh, there's 10,000 different possibilities. And then there's Ramsey, who's watching all this on a security monitor, and he puts in the right code after a few that Ian tries, and it gets him out, and Ian, of course, immediately takes credit for it because he thinks he's gotten it, and Ramsey's just sitting there like...
I thought that was going to pay off better, like... Grant would have said, what code did you use? And he would have said, it was my daughter's birthday or something, you know?
Exactly. Or and Ramsey would have been like, no, dude, that was like later on be like, no, that was me, but whatever. Like, he didn't need the credit. He just did it, and he was like, yeah, right, there you go. But yeah, I thought that was great. Stuff like that. Like, that's the thing. This movie really could have been either or, I think, and it still would have been great. I think, like, if you would have just done the Owen Claire stuff, the kind of retrieval of Maisie story, that would have been fine. I think you could have done just the original cast, and that would have been fine. But it is, like you said, it's an event film. There is a lot going on here. And it feels like kind of a culmination. Like, how much more can you do past this point, right? Like, right. So that to me, I'm like, okay. Like, I left, I'm like, you know what? It did a lot of things. It wrapped up a lot of storylines. It gave Henry Wu some redemption. It put Ellie and Alan together. Thank God.
Did you get the feeling that Henry Wu was dying or something? It almost felt like they cut his reveal that he's dying of cancer or something out of the movie because he looked really frail to me.
I think it was like just depression. I know what you mean, but I think it was like usually when they give a character like that look with like the long hair and stuff, like he's kind of stopped caring. I'm surprised he didn't have like a patchy beard and he'd be like, I just want to fix the world that I broke. You know, like that was his thing. But I like that he got redemption because like he's just like in Jurassic World. We haven't seen him since Jurassic Park, but the first Jurassic World, it's like, dude, you're like pretty evil, and then Fallen Kingdom, he's like really evil, and then this one, it was like, you know.
He follows the whims of his curiosity with genetics, and he doesn't think of the repercussions.
Yeah, exactly.
And he goes where the money is, apparently.
Because that money is, baby. But yeah, again, this movie focuses a lot more on like bugs and stuff than you would think, and there are two very distinct plot lines going on. I think it does a fine enough job kind of mixing the two, and it's nice to see them all come together. Yeah, it's kind of like they have to have these coincidences where they bump into each other. Right. On this big base, but you got to have them come together. The biggest
kind of like curious moment in the film is when Dodson decides to burn them all, but then releases them into the sky.
Yeah.
Causing the destruction of everything with fire spreading everywhere. I was like, why did he do this?
Okay, you know, so that's for the shot. I can understand
setting them on fire, but don't release them into the air.
Well, they broke out. He didn't mean to have that. That was a containment failure. So basically that shot, it's all leading up to having dinosaurs in your trailer look like they're in a meteorite storm, you know? Like, that's the whole point, right? To make it look like meteors are falling. So it's like, oh, yeah, it's like kind of the extinction.
It was a cool visual, by the way, them on fire flying through the air.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. What is it? I think the Gigantosaurus or whatever it is eats one. And I'm like, imagine that thing eating grilled food for the first time. It's like, oh, this is pretty good.
Yeah, he's just like... Not bad.
Not bad at all. Turn to the camera and look at us.
How funny would it have been he does that, he eats it out of the air, and then you see him go, and then he turns around, and there's another one, he gets that one too, and then he just starts running along, catching them all from the sky, and they're like,
he's just super happy.
Loves these.
He's just like, yay.
These are delicious.
They're so good. Yeah, and it gets all the people together eventually because they kind of run into each other kind of by happenstance. But like I said, you want to put them all together. But I think one of the things that makes it less suspenseful, or depending on how you look at it, is when there's like 6 or 7 of them like kind of sneaking around an upturned vehicle, and you're like, okay, like none of them like are going to get spotted here, but if they do, I think they're all going to live. And you're like, oh, like it's like in numbers, power in numbers, versus when it's just like, you know, back in the first one where it's just Grant by himself with Lex and Tim's in the car and he's like freaking out. Like, he's like, I'm going to die here. Like, you know. Yeah.
I thought it was a pretty effective shot when Maisie's going up the ladder and the thing bites around her and he can't quite get to her. That was a good great shot.
I was like, all right, how do you put one of your main characters in the jaws of this thing without them dying? And I thought that was really smart. Yeah, because they get up in their little hide in a way, like their little fortress up there, which I was like, yes, there we go.
Kind of Lost World-ish. He's like, come on, and she's like, I can't, I'm frozen with fear.
Yeah, basically. Which I was thinking about them like, oh kid, just keep going. I was like, okay, if that were me, maybe in that moment my whole body would be like, don't move, like you're in a safe spot, kind of.
I would have been like, oh, I wasted my life.
Yeah. Just like comic book guy. Um, I was still hoping for a Spinosaurus reveal at some point because for a while Spinosaurus used to be like the apex predator, largest predator on the planet.
I can't keep track of all these apex predators. There's always another one.
Yeah, I love the Spino. I'm a big fan of Jurassic Park 3, weirdly. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think this is totally worth seeing. And, we're glossing over a lot of things, but...
How cool would it have been to see Taya Leone again, or some of the characters from the other movies?
Sure, that would have been neat.
Just for little cameos and stuff.
Yeah, I know. They just had so much.
Vaughn.
They could have done that, but I think because they had like two separate kind of full casts, they just were we're not
or even like the kids from the first one. I know that they showed them again in the third one, just briefly for a second, didn't
It's
they?
in the second one, and it actually paid for, Tim said it paid for his college. The kid who played him, he's like, yep, I was in it for like 45 seconds, it paid for my college. I'm like, that boy.
It would have been fun to bring them back or something. I don't know.
I hear you.
I can understand why they didn't. They had a lot. They were spinning a lot of plates.
Exactly. And it turns into an ensemble film because like at first you kind of have like these two groups of three, but then they all coalesce. And also you've got Maisie on top of that. And like Ramsey and like, there's a lot of characters. So I get where the love I understand would be there for the cameos, but
you know what they need to do? I just realized that they need to do a Disney Plus kind of thing where I know NBC owns the Jurassic brand, their Peacock streaming service. They need a Jurassic series, like a high budget thing where the only place you can see it is on Peacock. I think people would do that, don't you?
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, totally. You could even make it an origin thing. Like you could start at the very beginning, like of Jurassic Park itself, and you could have it go throughout all the years. Like you could do a lot with it, really. And there's actually a standalone film, short film that they kind of show off in the very beginning of this with the montage. But there's like this family who's like on a camping trip, and it's after the events of Fallen Kingdom, and they get attacked by like an Allosaurus, and there's like a Styracosaurus or a Triceratops that helps them out at some point. So you can go look that up on YouTube. So there's so much you could do. You could make it an anthology film of things like that. You could do a ton. There's still
Can we just see one guy with a bazooka shoot a T-Rex? That's all I'm asking.
Well, we've got a bazooka blowing up a raptor in Jurassic World. Do you want a T-Rex?
Do?
Yeah, we do.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, you got to go back and watch it. Yeah, that Jurassic World goes just off the charts. Like that movie.
I remember the guys shooting at the apex predator and the bullets just bouncing off of it.
They're about to hit it and they don't. Indominus is a tricky lady. She's great. Yeah. I love her.
Can I just say this one thing, Jimmy?
Say it, please.
Shoot her!
Dude, that first movie is so good. All right. I'm sorry. It's just I love it, and that's the thing. My nostalgia for it maybe blinds me, but it is great. What else do we want to talk about here, man? I feel like we've kind of covered most of it. I know we jumped around a ton.
I just want to say Dodson, he dies the same way that Newman did from Seinfeld.
Yes, Nedry dies by Dilophosaurus. He says something...
The Dilophosaurus are pretty creepy, but I do love the part where it's about to kill Claire and Grady just grabs it by the throat.
Yeah, and it's like, it's oozing the poison, like, juice. And he just kind of like throws it aside and he's like, get out of here. He's like, go on, get.
I love it. He's just like, and he's like, and he's just like, no, you don't.
This is the first Chris Pratt movie in a long time where I think he's they show him off as the leading man, which he's definitely one of, but like, he doesn't say a lot in this movie. He's there. He's got a purpose and motivation, but it is very much like a Maisie story or an Ellie Sattler story, which is totally fine, but it's just so weird to see him in it, and then I would forget he's there, and he'd pop back up. I'm like, oh my god, hey, there's Chris Pratt. Like, I'm like, look at him do stuff. But yeah, I like him. And I like that he and Claire, they actually are like together now. There isn't this kind of like, will they, won't they? It's like, no, they're like raising a child. And I'm like, okay, like, thank you.
Maisie was pretty annoying at the beginning of the movie where she's like, I don't have to do what you say. And just like leaves all the time.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, this is getting old. But then she snaps back to normal when she gets kidnapped,
Yeah. I thought for sure that kidnapper guy was going to get eaten by Blue at some point. I thought Blue was going to get her redemption. or revenge.
He gets one dino grabbing one hand, another one grabbing the other, and then another one biting his head off.
I thought that was so comical because he gets caught in between like a little carnivore and like a little kind of triceratops type of thing, and it's like the carnivore like bite in, like cover his whole arm, and then they shoot over to the little triceratops who kind of is grabbing his fingers, and there's like very scary carnivore over here, and then there's like little baby herbivore over here, and the guy's like,
that scene was so funny. They're like in that marketplace with the illegal dino dealing, and they have these man-eating things just walking around, and I don't think people are panicking enough. You know,
no, they weren't that scared. There was a lot going on. I was like, man, this is crazy.
And they do give people the one weapon you can use in these movies, which is like a cattle prod, just like shock them.
Yeah, which Claire gets to use against that evil lady, and like she uses it on her in like a brief fight scene. And in Claire's defense, I love this about Claire. She wants to just ask her a question, and then like the evil lady starts attacking her. And then Claire uses that on her, and then the lady's like, "You're supposed to just use that on the dinosaurs," because it like throws her across a room. And I was like, "That's pretty funny." I'm like, "That's a pretty funny little moment." And it's good. It's good.
I appreciate the moments where unaware people get eaten in this movie. There's a guy on a Segway who gets gobbled up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's like they break into that like family's apartment, and like Claire goes to run away at one moment. She opens up like a closet door where the family is huddling, and she's like, "Oh, I can't go in here." Like it's like,
and then she leaves. She jumps out the window. The dino comes in there. There's a mother and child right there, and you left them exposed, Claire.
It's okay. She's got the laser pointer on her. She's like,
she's like, they're not targeted. But did Claire really know that?
Yeah, right. I'm not sure if she did.
Claire like grabs the mom, throws it at the dinosaur.
Take her.
Get away.
Take her. Yeah, I liked the look of those Atrociraptors a lot, by the way. I really thought they looked cool.
Flat-headed kind of.
Yeah, they're scary. I was like looking at them like, oh yeah, that actually plays pretty well. I was like, okay, you got to get them back in, not your regular raptors. I also
liked Ellie, where she had one of the tasers in each hand, like slapping down the locusts.
Yeah, that one moment. Yeah, cool. I was like, Ellie was great. Like, just watching like Ellie and like Alan together again, like, and I don't know, man. It's just nice. Like, regardless of how you feel about it,
they give them their own missions that they each have to go on. And it kind of was reminiscent of resetting the power in the original Jurassic Park.
Gotta hit the button and stuff. Yeah, I was like, and then I love that like Ellie's trying to figure out which one to hit, and of course Ian's on the comm saying he's like, I don't know, I can be more specific than this. It's 4 down from the top, 3 up from the bottom, and she's like, which one? You gotta tell me. And he's like, this one. I was like, oh, of course. Like, with him on comms, it's more fun. Because if you put him out in the world, he's going to get messed up. But, like, him in the intelligence room, like, barking orders is very funny. But, yeah.
I feel like everybody was having a good time making this movie.
Time. Yeah, right. And, again, it was just cool to see those three together again. If you're a fan of the franchise, it's not going to play super well if you're not. But you can tell there's a history and a chemistry there. And again, this could have been just their movie. I get why they didn't do just that, because it would have been kind of like, okay, like some of your action sequences won't be as crazy.
Where like Alan Grant is like, you train raptors, that kind of thing. And then later on, Ian Malcolm is like, is that a baby dinosaur? There's like, you're nuts, dude.
I didn't like the shade he threw at Owen, because Owen's like, yeah, I promised Blue, her mother, that I'd bring her back. And he's like, you made a promise to a dinosaur? I want to be like, yeah, man. All right. They have a special bond. Like, they love each other, but she's not like curled up on the rug in front of the fire every night. Okay. Like, it's not that close, but yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm glad it exists. I'm glad we've kind of have like this like pseudo finality to it right now. Will they reboot it or continue it in like 5 or 10 years? Who knows? But right now, I think like there's a lot. This movie, there's so much to kind of dig into.
This movie has made so much money and it's going to make even more. They're gonna make another one.
Yeah, and regardless of what I said before with like the critic score and stuff like that, like, obviously that's gonna matter, and like it's good to take that feedback. But like, if the people are watching it, it's like people who just want to see a movie and are bringing their kids, which you shouldn't, this movie like franchise is still so strong. Like, to think that it's the only like true dinosaur thing in town still that's like just dinosaurs, it's kind of incredible. Like, like 6 movies in, we're still doing this, and a really great show. I think it's still on Netflix that DreamWorks does. Check out Camp Cretaceous. It's actually really good. Yeah,
it's fun.
it's a good show. Check it out. Lots of callbacks, lots of intertwining things, but yeah, it's a good show. But yeah, I would tell people to check it out. If you're a Jurassic fan, you've probably already seen it. Does it all make sense all the time? No, but what movie does, right? Like,
Yeah.
like just go in, like it's going to be a big, crazy movie. And
I like that they brought the character of Dodson back. I thought that was a cool little touch there.
Yeah.
And like I said, I would have had even more tie-ins. It would have been ridiculous,
Yeah,
like
we would have had a lot.
we find out that they cloned Dennis. Is that his name? What was the hacker guy's name?
Why would they clone Dennis Nedry?
Just because you can have him in the movie.
My God.
Just to bring him back.
What if I wish Lewis would have had a picture of Nedry like over his desk as like the man that made him like $1 bajillion. So there'd just be like a little like weird picture of Nedry and like a Hawaiian shirt. Yeah, that would have been good. I don't know.
Like, just had too much sugar. I need to eat something salty.
I think it was about the time when Alan Grant was in his like full like espionage mode and he's holding one of those locusts. I was thinking like in my brain, man, today when I bought the ticket, I really didn't think I'd be seeing a lot of bugs. Like, but I'm seeing a lot of bugs today. Like I was not.
By the way, are those two kids okay? The ones on the farm?
Oh yeah, the ones who get like trapped in the barn. They don't show them
they're
later
traumatized for life.
Yeah, I don't know about those kids. I don't know. There's like a little girl.
They just find two skeletons.
Yeah. There's a little girl in the montage early on who's getting chased around by compies, which is a throwback to the Lost World. There's like so many callbacks to things.
Can I just say at the very end, they're testifying and stuff like that. There's a little girl playing with a little dino by a body of water right there in the background. I was like, that girl's going to lose a finger.
Yeah, exactly. And Alan's like, still can't get used to it. Like,
yeah.
I'm like,
I thought it would have been funny if he said, it's not my kid, not my problem.
Or he'd just be like, yeah, I hate kids. Like, still, after all this time.
Kids, they smell.
They smell. Like, I liked, like, Lex and Tim. Lex and Tim, you're right. I think they could have had a moment somewhere here. Like Lex or Tim could have been like a congressperson or a senator, and they could have been at the very end there. Like that would have been a nice little like, oh, it's so cute.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, I'm a sucker for that sort of thing, but also I just love Jurassic, man. I just love it. So, you can't bring Hammond back, can't bring the Lockwoods back or whatever. So you make do. And you know what? To be honest, a lot less blue in this one. I am kind of surprised. I was shocked.
Yeah, Blue is gone for the duration of the movie and then comes back.
Yeah, which is fine because it makes sense because, like, well, they're going to be like, all right, Blue, get in the truck, girl. Like,
What's funny, they kind of did the last glance thing like in a romantic movie. Like, if she turns and looks at me, that means she still loves me. And Blue stops and kind of turns and looks at him again.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Like, totally. Blue's like, I still love you, man.
They actually did a promotional like advertisement or something that is now apparent, maybe is even canon. But at the end where they get Beta, they're bringing Beta back home. They don't really show you how Beta gets there, but I remember seeing Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard in like an airport for an ad, and they have Beta in a little carry-on case, like a little like you'd have for a dog or something, and they basically have to like lie to this person at the check-in to like get her on the plane. And I was like, oh, wow, that actually might be canonical. Like, they had to, like, smuggle her onto a plane, kind of, sort of.
That's
like,
funny.
It's just, it's weird, because the guy's like, clearly that's a dinosaur in there. And they're like, no, it's just, like, a really big dog. Like,
they could definitely do, like, the extended cut when it comes out on Blu-ray and add in the whole, like, drive-in sequence and stuff.
Yeah, that's too bad, because that seems like something that they could have had, or at least, like, an after-credit scene, which, by the way, for people who are wondering, there is no after-credit scene. I did stay. I try to stay as, like, to pay respect to all the people who are a part of it with the credits, but there's no after-credit scene.
I tried, but I had to go to the bathroom so bad.
This is I think it's like 2 hour, 37 minutes or 2.5 hour film at least. So keep that in mind. Yeah. And this is one that you feel it because there's a lot they're going over. There's a lot of stuff going on here. All right. There's many subplots, lots of stuff's happening. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, Jason, any final thoughts about Jurassic World Dominion?
I had a good time. I don't take these movies too seriously, so I'm not all hung up on little plot points or anything. And I just had a good time. I want to be scared a couple of times or little jump scares and stuff. That happened a few times, and that's all I asked for,
Excellent.
Also, I like seeing the original characters mixed with the newer characters, and it was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's kind of contrived how they all meet up together, but who cares, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just happy to see the dinosaurs. Like I said before, there were some actual practical dinosaurs, especially the smaller ones. I don't think any of the predators or the carnivores were practical, which is fine.
What was your favorite dino scene in the movie?
Ooh, it's a toss-up. I like the Atrociraptors a lot. It might be the Dimetrodons because I knew what those were. So when they popped up, I was like, oh my gosh. Because at first I was like, is this Spinosaurus? And they're like, nope, it's Dimetrodons. And I thought that was so creepy and claustrophobic. I think that's a really good scene. But also that scene that you're talking about with the Therizinosaurus where she crawls into the water. Man,
Yeah.
like that's a good
The
moment.
best action sequence, definitely the motorcycle car chase thing.
Yeah, and I like the shout out to Quetzalcoatlus that attacks the plane. I don't know. Apparently that thing can fly as fast as a plane. Maybe it can. Who knows? But it kind of crashes into it, and I was like, "Oh, are we doing pteranodons again?"
The part where Claire holds the bar between the two cars and the thing just clotheslines.
Dude, that's good. I was like, "Oh, physics." I like physics. That was good. And also, I don't know what's up with this movie and the last movie, but they like to put Bryce Dallas Howard in like a cam that's like attached to her, and like have her go through like an action sequence where it's just her face the whole time. So it was the gyrosphere in the last one, and this one, and she's like in the ejector seat, and she's just kind of screaming. It's like, oh man, like it's intense.
Totally, they did that kind of tight close up on her.
Yeah, which is not bad. I
was thinking myself, like, I would never want a camera that close to my face being projected on a giant screen. You know?
I do. That's why I got into the business, baby. Which, by the way, Bryce Dallas Howard, interesting to think about, like, is directing like Star Wars episodes and stuff now. So it's like it's cool to see somebody do like a bunch of different things like that.
She's
like,
following in her dad's footsteps. Start as an actor, then go into directing.
Which hopefully, Bryce, this is coming from me. I hope we work together someday because guess what? I like your work. I really do. Seems pretty cool. And you know what? Good for her to I wonder if she got signed on for 3 films. I'm so curious to know about this sort of stuff. But showed up and was a big factor in this film. Big mom energy, and I love it. You know what I mean? She cares about her kid, even though it's not her. Even though Maisie was like, "You're not my mother." And I was like, yeah, I get it.
She takes that back though. You know,
she takes it back. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good. So yeah, I'm very curious to hear what you think about it, everybody at home. Like I said, it sounds like a recommendation from both Jason and myself, especially if you're a Jurassic fan. If you're not, I don't know. I would be curious to know people who aren't Jurassic fans who are going to see the 3rd installment of this new kind of trilogy. That'd be kind of interesting. Like, is there anybody out there who's like, I'll give it a shot? They're like, I don't know what's going on. It's very confusing. But yes, and again, it's almost worth the price of admission for me just to see Alan Grant. I just love Sam Neill. I just like, he had the beard, which I'm like, all right, it's okay. But man, and there's a moment where he has an Indiana Jones moment where he's supposed to leave his hat as they're getting attacked by the Dimetrodons, and Ellie's like, leave it, and he goes for it. He just grabs his hat. I'm like, I love it so much. Like,
he's like, hell no, I'm not leaving my hat.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like, and just classic Alan. He's just gonna take like a bandana, wrap it around some like hedge trimmers, and that's like his torch. I'm like, that's a classic Alan.
I always thought it was pretty lame that they didn't wind up together. Like in the third movie, they kind of explain how you know, he went his own way and she got married and had kids. I like in this one, she's like, I suppose you're going back to your dig, and he's like, I'm coming with you.
Yeah, or that she was like, you're happy out there in your element, and he's like, I might be in my element, but I'm not happy. And I was like, I was like, thank you, because like so often in life you see somebody in that situation, and you're like, they must be happy, and then if you were to ask them, they'd be like, no, I'm not. And I was like,
there's no point in digging up dinosaurs anymore if they're around, you know?
Yeah, and I just love that he's finally like, he's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to finally be open about my feelings and be like, you know, we need to like stick together. And I'm like, oh, yes, that's what I'm freaking talking about. Like, yeah.
All I ask, put a saddle on him.
Put a saddle. I want to see somebody riding a pteranodon. All right. Flying around.
Awesome.
It's going to be Maisie's like, I can communicate with them because my genetics, they put some dino DNA in me or something. I don't know. I was really worried about I thought after Fallen Kingdom I was so nervous, man, because like there was some leaked stuff or some kind of shelved plans for the first Jurassic World that was going to be like human dinosaur hybrids, And I was
Oh
so
my
worried
God.
with like the cloning stuff they had in Fallen Kingdom. I was like, please, I do not want to do like a clone saga in this next movie. They do not do that. So I was like, thank you for showing restraint, because they easily could have been like, well, we're just making clones of everybody now. I'd be like, no. Like little John Hammond, we don't need it. Like we don't want that.
Yeah, that could be bad.
That could be very bad. Anyway, thank you. Well, we're going to wrap up the show here today. Jason, thank you so much for being here. Please, everybody, go check out Entertainment Landfill. I've been working with Jason now for years, man. It's been great. And Jason, you've been on a few other episodes here. But one of these days, I'm just going to keep cajoling you to get back on the podcast game, and because you've got great shows, man. Really, really good.
Oh, thank you very much. I always love spending time talking to you. It's a good time.
You're too kind. You're too kind. Well, Jason's going to hang out with me while I say goodbye to him later. But everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Please let us know what you think of the show. Just leave a comment. Unless you're just listening to this, just try to reach out on Twitter or whatnot if you want to. Let us know what you thought of the show and what you thought of the film. Because honestly, I want to have a conversation. Leave a comment if it's on YouTube or whatnot. But either way, huge thank you to our patrons. You guys help us continue the show. You guys are incredible and lovely. And if you like Jurassic stuff in the real world, yes, that's right, I said it. I've been doing a lot of Universal Studios vlogs in Hollywood here, and I get to see a real life Indominus Rex. And guess what? She's beautiful and very scary. Like, really intimidating, actually. I just want to get evac'd off it right there so I can go up and give her a big old hug. But they probably wouldn't let me do that. It's still a dream. Either way. Thank you so much, Jason, for being here. Thank you, everybody else, for listening. And until next time, just remember to adapt and overcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.